Today I'll show you the Univid to Salesforce webinar integration and how you can create something as good as this with the click of one button. So to just briefly show you how you can integrate Univid to Salesforce, you do this on your organization page in Univid. Here you can simply choose Salesforce and then decide to connect the two systems. So what this means is that Salesforce can now create Univid webinars directly from within Salesforce once you create a webinar campaign. You can also register attendees from Salesforce then if you add them to your campaign. But you can also get a bunch of nice data back from your webinar. Let's say who attended, how long did they attend for, and such data. We now navigate over to Salesforce and create our webinar campaign from here. Then we simply press new. We'll input the title of the campaign, which will also be the title of the webinar. So let's say it's webinar number 2, it's type webinar, and it will be taking place tomorrow. That's basically all we have to input. We can also input a nice description. Then we can go back into our organization and see that we have a webinar set up for us in Univid automatically. Then we can enter this webinar and see that it has got the same nice design as our template we set up in Univid previously. So you don't even have to reconfigure the design every time. So now as soon as we have created our campaign in Salesforce, we can also add a flow to our campaign to make it possible to actually add new contacts to a campaign and have them being able to add it to the webinar automatically. So to do that, we'll simply go to flows. We can find this if we search for flows in the left menu. Here we can go to register to Univid, and this is a flow that we'll have configured for you once you run the integration in the first setup phase. Once we open up our flow, we'll edit two things to make it work with our new campaign. We'll edit the start and the register action. The start will be adding our new campaign ID. So we'll go into our campaign, and in the URL we'll get the campaign ID. We'll simply paste that in there. We just X out of that. We can go into the edit element here, and we can edit our new campaign ID and put that in there. So now we have our newly configured workflow, and we can see that as a new version if we want to. So let's add that as a number 2, and we can save that. We can press activate to have it being active, and that's all we have to do. Now we can essentially get new contacts directly from Salesforce and our campaign being sent over to our webinar in Univid. So we'll go to our campaign, and here we can add a contact now. So let's do that. We'll add one of our test contacts here, and I'll simply go to next, and I'll submit the contact. Now we can see that it has been added to our campaign. If we refresh here, that's great. We can now go into our session in Univid and go to access and registration and registered participants. And here we can find the contact, and that has been added automatically through the integration. Also, if you want to use our registration forms, you can. So you have very nicely configured registration forms. If we just log out here, you have one created for you. If you don't want to use your own through Salesforce, you can simply get the benefits of the integration from the data being pushed into Salesforce, but while still using the Univid forms. Now we can see that the attendee indeed has been added to the Salesforce campaign, and if we go back into the Univid dashboard, we can see that the registrant has been added to Univid as well. So that's how the registration part of the integration works. And also Univid data will be sent back in terms of engagement data back into Salesforce. And that's essentially just data like watch time, attendee status, and similar. You can test a lot of this out on your own by going to univid.io and creating a test account for free. You can also learn more about the integration here and dive deep into the guide and some information on how it works. We have a lot of exciting stuff coming up in the webinar space now for the coming months. So stay tuned for that, and I'll see you in the next one. Ciao!